record the session. Thank you. Right. So I was having a couple of issues here with my laptop. I don't know what happened. It crashed. So I had to restart it, and it takes some time now, but good. Anyway, no problem. Guys, so this week we're going to be working on our week number 2 of the intermediate to level. Ready? Taking into account that the idea of this week, it's talking about a place, right? So describing a place. In the infographic of this week, we start by like having two different questions. Yes. The first question is, how would you describe the place where you live? City, neighborhood. Well, how would you describe the place where you live? What word would you use?
Well, I really believe that the place where I live, even though it's not the best, it's not the best place I where I can believe I could ever live. It's very peaceful. It's a good place, even though
Very good. Excellent. Where do you live, Danny?
I live in Bosa, Bogota.
Okay, good. Well, yeah. It's a little bit far from downtown. It's a little bit far from the city universities and from the center of the city, but it's good though, right? So, mm, muy bien, very good. Emily, where do you live, my dear?
Hello, teacher. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. How do you describe the place where you live? Well, I'm living in Suacha.
Okay.
So in this part, in a neighborhood, is called Ricaurte. So in this place is um it's very peaceful too. No, sorry.
Mhm.
It's a little of danger. And what else? Maybe you can fight a lot or eh, se me olvidó cómo decir esto. Eh, Montallantas.
Okay. How did you say that? Oh my God, I forgot. Well, that's like a car workshop, no? Like a workshop. A lot of workshops.
Yes,
Mhm.
there are a lot of their car stop in this area.
Uh-huh.
So it's very difficult because of the traffic and the mobility is difficult,
Yeah.
not only for the vehicles but also for the pedestrians.
For the pedestrians.
Yes,
I mean, but because in Soacha lives a lot of people, right? But it's so crowded.
yes, teacher.
hmm Okay, very good. And well, the second question was, what would you consider the negative aspects of it? And already Emily told us that it's crowded, that the mobility is a little bit difficult, not a little bit, not a lot difficult, and also that there is a little bit of danger, that it is a little bit dangerous. Good. Danny, what about you? What would you consider that are the negative aspects of your neighborhood, in this case of Bosa?
Well, actually, I believe that all depends on where side do you are, when do you get in, but at least for the place where I live, I will believe that the main uh, principal bad aspect of my house is that it's how do you say it before it's a bit far from the universities, the center, the center. um,
Yeah, from the city main places, no?
exact, and how I aim to study in the National University of Colombia. That
Okay.
could be uh, difficult for the future.
And even the National University is not so far because it's like in the middle of the city. No, it's like 1 hour from in Transmilenio. But can you imagine, for example, studying in the north of the city? That would be hard because it would be like 2 hours of a trip, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Really, that's the reason why I had to regret one opportunity that was offered me
Mhm.
for for one university.
Okay, okay, very good. Then in that case, you could say turn down an opportunity, which is like decline, or pass up an opportunity, right? Not regret, because or reject could be reject an opportunity, but it's better to use turn down. Turn down an opportunity is like, like decline the opportunity, right? And when you said como tú dijiste o como yo planeo, como mi objetivo is, right? You use as, not how, because how it's for the question cómo, but in Spanish, this como with tilde, which is for questions, right? This as it's como, but we're exemplifying. So in that case, when I say, for example, quiero trabajar como profesor, I want to work as a teacher, no how a teacher, but as a teacher. Also, if you want, you can use like, ready? But as it's more appropriate, ready? Like is a little bit more informal, but as is a little bit more appropriate. But in the affirmative sentence, we don't use how because that's for the question, right? Okay, well, good guys. So, well, actually, you live kind of close because, well, Emi lives in Suacha and Danny lives in Bosa, which is not that far from Suacha, no? So you live a little bit close, right? Okay, guys. So we know that when we describe places, we have to use adjectives, right? So we know how well we have to use adjectives and nouns, right? In this case, talking about the characteristics, well, we can use, for example, expensive, big, small, dangerous, polluted, noisy, all different kinds of vocabulary related to the description of a place, right? For example, these places are, well, this one is sunny, yes, Sony, sorry, Sony, right? And it is kind of natural. It's a natural place, right? And of course, this one it's a little bit modern, yes. And for example, let's say this one it's a little bit futuristic, yes. So in that case, guys, characteristics or adjectives are going to accompany always the description of my place. For example, I live also in Bogota, but I don't live in the south part, but I live in the center part. Yes, I live in the, I know, I'm sure that you know, I live in the Estación Comuneros. Do you know it? You know where is that? Yes.
Yes,
I
yes, yes.
had heard about
Yes.
that place.
Okay, because it's actually on the way to Soacha and Bosa, so that's why probably you have heard about it. So in that case, in my place, yes, my place is a little bit urban. There is not so much nature, yes, but it is a peaceful place too, because in that place there isn't much traffic. So it's actually a little bit peaceful, right? And it's very, very residential, right? But at the same time, as it is very residential, it's very cool. I mean, it's typical Colombian neighborhood, like with a church, with a lot of bakeries, with a lot of drugstores and grocery stores, right? So it has like a very typical Colombian structure with some supermarkets or some mini markets, also some convenience stores. So in that case, I would say that my neighborhood, it's urban, peaceful, residential, and it is Colombian. I mean, Colombian meaning that it's a very typical, it's very Colombian-like, no? It's like a very typical from a Colombian neighborhood. Yes. So in all of these adjectives, we have different kinds of adjectives, right? Some of them are related to my opinion about the place. For example, sunny. Yes, it's just my opinion, right? Some of them are about the age of the place. For example, here I could say modern, But I also could say, for example, that it's an old neighborhood. My neighborhood is super old, yes. But I can see also, for example, that it's a little bit futuristic, which is related to the age, no? I can also mention the size of the place. For example, Suacha, it's a huge place, while my neighborhood, it's a tiny place. It's very little. Bosa is also one of the biggest localities in Bogota, right? So in that case, you can mention different kinds of characteristics depending what I want to mention of that place. So in that case, guys, we're going to have different types of connectors, ready? The connectors, no, different types of characteristics, sorry. The characteristics, yes, are going to be before the noun. The noun, for example, it's, for example, place or neighborhood, yeah, which is what I am describing. Neighborhood, yes, or city, if we are describing the city or place or whatever, yes. But that place, that noun, which you remember it's substantive, that noun has many different characteristics, right? For example, in my case, that it is a peaceful urban residential Colombian or typical Colombian place or neighborhood, right? Those characteristics are going to be disposed in a specific order, right? In this case, guys, we're going to have to organize the characteristics in the order that we said here, right? First, it's going to describe, well, here sometimes the people differ on the order. Sometimes they say that size is the first, and sometimes they say that opinion is the first. Both could be first, right? No problem. There is not like a definite structure there, but yeah, it's probably like the most common orders. It's starting with size first. Yeah. If it's huge, big, enormous, gray, tiny, small, little, right? And then the opinion. Opinion is any characteristic which describes something that I think of the object. For example, that it's sunny, that it's futuristic, that it's peaceful, that it's, let's say that is great, bad. Yeah, opinions of the place or of the object. Ready? Then we can talk about the age, which, modern, old, antique, new, right? Then we can talk about shape. If it's, what is this shape? Triangle. What is this shape? Circle or circular? Yes. What is this shape? Square. This is depending the shape of the thing. Yes, we can use it for describing. Sometimes, not always, no. We can talk about the color, the origin, which is, for example, in this case, my opinion about Colombian, yeah, and the material if it's necessary. If it's, for example, wooden. What is the meaning of wooden, guys? What material is wood?
Madera.
Madera. So when I say wooden, it's an object that is made of wood, of course. And if I say, for example, metal, well, it's easy, or plastic, or acrylic, or pottery. Hey, what is pottery? One vocabulary, one new vocabulary. Pottery, what is that?
Cerámica.
Cerámica, muy bien, Emily, very good. So in that case, the material can go at the end. And then we have the noun. Yes, so that it's just the noun, right? So, but before I am going to order all of these characteristics. Claro. Of course, normally I don't use one characteristic of every type. I use maximum 3, and then I have to organize it. For example, here I have beautiful antique Czech crystal sugar bowl. Beautiful because it's opinion. Antique because it's age. Czech because it's origin. And crystal because it's the material. But of course, I didn't use the size. I didn't use the temperature. I didn't use the shade. I didn't use the color. Yes, I use all the others. So I am going to organize it. But if I don't have one adjective of one category, well, I skip it. I just pass to the next category. Yes. Or for example, if I have 2 adjectives of the same category, I organize it in any case, and I organize it regarding the other categories. Okay. And then at the end, I have the noun, right? So, for example, I could say that here, let's have it here. Let me erase this part. I could say, for example, that my neighborhood is wait, oh my God. It's great because I like it. It's a great, a modern, it's a great modern Colombian neighborhood. Yes, my neighborhood is a great modern Colombian neighborhood. I said my opinion about it. I said the age of it, and I said the origin of it, right? Or no, I can say, for example, that my neighborhood it's a peaceful residential, wait, sorry, residential, let's say huge. No, sorry, no, that's the first. A white neighborhood because it's very typical to have the house in white there because it's very typical. So, and my neighborhood it's a peaceful residential white place, right? Organizing the categories according to the order of the category. Sorry, organizing the characteristics according to the categories that we have. Okay. Is it clear the order of the adjectives, or do you have questions about it?
No, sir.
It's clear, teacher.
Excellent, my friends. Good. So this can apply not only to places, because of course that's not the only way, the only thing that we describe, but it can apply to anything that we would like to describe, right? Let me just, sorry, let me just erase this part. Cut this part. Okay, we have it here. And please do me a favor. Do me a favor and describe. Wait a second. I'm looking for a picture that you have to describe, but wait. Good. This one. Okay, guys. So, of course, not the liquid that it's inside, but the recipe. What would you tell me about the recipe?
Well, I see recipe that it's a little bit big. It's a little big. It's it's of orange color and seems to be made of glass.
Okay. But I think that the color is actually transparent, but the color is because of the beer that is inside. But actually, I think that
Oh,
it's transparent,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't
No
follow
worries.
that.
Okay, very good. Entonces, I have three characteristics: big, transparent, and glass. Ready? First, of course, that we are going to have big, because it's the size, right? Then we have transparent, very good, because it's the color. And finally, we have glass because it's material. What is the noun? It's simply a glass. Well, I can have, for example, for not repeating glass and glass, I can use other word, like for example, recipient. Yeah. Then Daniel would say, for example, teacher, I see a big transparent glass recipient. Okay, very good. Three characteristics organized according to the categories that we have so far, right? Muy bien, very good. What about this one? Wait. I am trying to. What about this one? Let me find it out. Okay. Oh, shoot. This one. Excellent. What about that? What is it?
It's a delicious circle. Um, ¿Cómo se podría decir? Como esponjado.
Spongy.
Spongy hamburger.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah. So, and also, for example, well, it's not the material, but it's a material that contains, what is this? What is that?
That's cheese.
Cheese, right? So for example, I would say it's a delicious circular spongy cheeseburger. Yes. So it's the material of the object. So it's not the material of the object, but it's something that contains the object. So it can also be included as a material, right? Entonces, that's the way we are going to do it, or we are going to organize the characteristics of the object according to this order. But remember that it's not very common that we use all the 7 categories, all the 7 kinds of characteristics in one object. Probably I used 2, 3, maximum 4, right? But normally we just use 1 or 2 characteristics of the object. Ready? Bueno, my dear, so go. In that case, this, especially today, we're going to use it for describing places, right? And in that case, I can describe a part of the characteristics of the place. I can define it, define the place, right? Because, for example, if I say, no, wait. Let's say what? Let's say one place, let's say La Séptima. The people from Bogotá knows that La Séptima, ¿qué es? ¿Es un bar? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Eso es un parque? La Séptima.
I don't really know. I've never heard about that.
Oh,
Oh no, well, I've heard, but I don't remember well actually what it is.
okay. Emi, do you know what is La Séptima?
¿Una avenida?
Una avenida. Exactly. Muy bien. Es una avenida. Very good. So I would say that La Séptima is a main street. Es una avenida principal. It's a main, pero es peatonal, right? So in that case, it's a main pedestrian street. Yes. And what is what I want to say? I want to say that La Séptima is in Bogotá's downtown, está en el centro. Bueno, actually, la Séptima cruza todo Bogotá, ¿cierto? Desde el sur hasta el norte, cruza la Séptima, right? Entonces, I'm going to say first that it's a main pedestrian street para definirle como, digamos, a las personas como Dani que no saben qué es la Séptima, right? Entonces, para definirles qué es, I'm going to have that sentence. It's a main pedestrian street, ¿cierto? But the real information that I want to say is that it crosses all Bogota from side to side, or más bien from south to north, or from north to south, como quieran, right? So in that case, I have 2 informations about La Séptima. First, that it's a main street, and second, that crosses all Bogota from south to the north, from the south to the north. How can I match or connect these 2 ideas about La Séptima? How can I use to, or what can I use to connect these 2 ideas?
Relative pronouns.
Relative pronouns. Muy bien, Daniel. And in this case, as we're talking about places, what could be the 2 relative pronouns that we can use?
Well, La Séptima is a main street which crosses all Bogota from south to north.
Exactly. In this case, we're going to have the relative pronoun which, because it's a characteristic of the place. Es un lugar, es una avenida, la cual. Ready? Which. But another information that I want to say is that a lot of sellers, a lot of street stalls are located in La Séptima, are located there because it's a pedestrian avenue. So a lot of people sell things there. Yeah. So I could say a lot of people sell things there. Like, like on a street market, like when you go to buy posters and second-handed clothes and second-handed shoes and antique things, right? Like souvenirs, handcrafted means manualidades, action figures, collectibles, a lot of different things that the people sell there. See, in that case, it's not a characteristic of the place, but it's something that happens in that place. What relative pronoun I would use to describe that sentence? The second one.
Maybe can we use also or plus?
That is not a relative pronoun, it's a connector, very good, but it's not a relative pronoun because the relative pronouns are the one that we use with WH. But plus and also, they are good connectors of addition. But in that case, I am going to use it for connect a relative pronoun. We already use which because es un lugar el cual cruza, o es una avenida, la cual cruza Bogotá de sur a norte. Pero aquí, ¿será que sí puedo usar el cual? Do you think so? Or where? Or what?
Where?
Where? Very good, right? This in that case, and muy bien, Daniel already said it in the chat, yeah? So where, it's the other relative pronoun that we are going to use for talking about places. But what is the difference? When I use where, I am describing something that happens in that place. Not a characteristic of the place, but it's something that happens in the place. For example, in this case, I'm describing that something that happened is that a lot of people sell things there. So I would say that La Séptima is a main street where a lot of people sell things. Of course, I wouldn't use there because that's why I'm using where. Yes. So La Séptima is a main street a main pedestrian street in Bogota where a lot of people sell things. Or if I want to say the other thing, then I would say La Séptima is a main pedestrian street which crosses all Bogota from south to the north. Yeah. Depending on my intention, depending on the real information, it's the second one that I want to use. Depending on that, I am going to use which or where. It depends, right? And what about if I use other different subjects? I would have to change it, yes? Remember that the relative pronouns are four. I can use which, I can use who for people, I can use where, or I can use when, depending, ready? And especially who and which, they can be replaced for that. So, for example, I could say, La Séptima, it's a place that crosses Bogota from south to the north, for replacing which. But I cannot use it for replace where. Yes. So I cannot say La Séptima is a main street that a lot of people. No, that one is with where and only with where. But when I use which, I can also replace it with that. Okay. Now, if I want to describe a person, I would say who. And if I'm going to describe a moment or a situation, I would use when. Yes. Remember that in this case, I am going to have two different types of relative clauses, defining and non-defining relative clauses, right? In which I just make a clarification about the subject. Yes, we already saw that the last time. So I can say, for example, a city simple like Bogota is a city where the traffic sucks. Yes, or for example, Bosa, oh my God, wait. Bosa is a district of Bogota. And the characteristic that Daniel gave us, it was that it is really peaceful. How can you connect here? With which or with where?
I believe that the better connector for this situation would be which, because we are describing a characteristic of a place, or in other case, a person.
Perfect answer, Daniel. Right? In this case, what I'm describing, it's a characteristic of Bosa. The characteristic is that it's really peaceful. So you said, which is really peaceful, right? But I can say, for example, another thing, and it's that many people, many people, sorry, many people live. Then what do you think it's the best connector there?
Where?
Of course, right? In that case, I'm not describing a characteristic of the place. I'm just saying something that happened there. What is what happened there? But that many people live there. So Bosa is a district of Bogota where many people live, right? But let's remember that this is only a defining clause. It's a place, it's a city, it's a ta ta ta. And of course that here I cannot include the characteristics that we saw the last time. No, for example, Bosa is an antique, peaceful district. Antique, peaceful, pardon, peaceful. What is first? No, yes, peaceful antique place. Yes, where a lot of people live, right? So I can include also the adjectives, but it's a defining clause. If I want to introduce other different kind of information, which is more like complementary and clarifying information, then I will have to use the non-defining clauses, right? Example, Suacha. What I want to really say is that it's a little dangerous in some parts. A little dangerous, and especially at night. But I would like to clarify that Suacha is a place where a lot of people live. So in that case, I would say Suacha, where many people live, or where a lot of people live, comma, it's a little dangerous at night. So this is not defining the place. I already know that Suacha is a district. Well, it's actually is a municipality next to Bogota, but it's more like a neighborhood of Bogota, no? So it's like attached to Bogota. So, and I already know that. In this case, I'm not defining what is that. I'm just clarifying the other information, that it's a place where a lot of people live. And what I really want to say is that it's a little bit dangerous at night. But I want to clarify this information too. So I make a non-defining clause for matching both ideas. Ready? So we have defining clauses and non-defining clauses depending on your English. Okay? How do you feel so far? Good questions, difficulties, or problems?
Good. Actually, I believe that it's uh, in general, I believe that it's easy theme.
It is. It is. Very good.
Yeah, it's clear, teacher.
Marvelous. Very good, Amy. Yeah. So that in both cases, we were giving information about the subject. Yes, we said that Bosa is a place which, information about the subject, right? And here we said Suacha, where a lot of people live, it's very dangerous at night. We're giving information about the subject. But when we use relative clauses, we can also give information about the object if the object is different from the subject. For example, in this case, I say, I don't go to cold places where you need more clothes. The subject, it's I. Then I say, I don't go to cold places. Places is the object, yes? And then the relative clause, it's additionally after the comma. But when I say where you need more clothes, what do you think? Do you think that it's talking about I or talking about the places?
You're talking about the object of the oration. I would say that
About the what, Danny? Sorry?
about the object of the oration.
Exactly, or the object of the sentence, of the sentence. Exactly, so we're talking about the object of the sentence, which in this case is a place, so that's why we use where, right? I don't go to cold places where you need more clothes. I am not talking about myself, but I can also do that, right? So in this case, I am not defining the object, yeah, but I'm describing something additionally or connecting two ideas, but over the object of the sentence, not over the subject. Ready? Emily, would you please help me to read the second sentence, honey? The second one?
Yes, teacher. My friend enjoyed to walk at night when the streets are,
Lonely.
I don't know. Okay, lonely.
Lonely, yes. Good, very good, honey. So in that case, my friends enjoy to walk at night. Night, of course, it's a moment. So why? When the streets are lonely, right? And Danny, would you please help me to read the number three, the third example, Mike?
They love horror movies, which are very disturbing.
Good. When I say which, do you think that I refer to my friends or to the movies?
I would say that it refers to the movies.
To the movies, of course, right? So in that case, guys, the relative clauses are going to function either for the subject of the sentence, but also for the object of the sentence. You define what you want to say, ready? For example, let me just make some examples here. I would like you to help me complete this sentence, right? So, for example, I said, okay, I like to go to places, pin, pin, pin. I can drink coffee outdoors. Normally, my girlfriend and me go to shops, pin, pin, pin. We can take the sun. Okay. It is very common that we go on days. Papa, the sun is out. And normally we go with people. Papa are very talkative. Sorry, talkative. Talkative. Yes, that's the way. Ready. So in every single ellipsis where there is 3 points, please complete it with a relative pronoun.
The first maybe probably where?
Once again, honey, again.
Where? I
Yeah,
like to
exactly.
go where?
Where? Yes, in that case, we are talking about the places, not about me. I am not the connector. It's about the places, right? Muy bien. So I like to go to places where I can drink coffee outdoors. Normally, my girlfriend and me. What do you think?
Uh,
Normally, we go to shops.
when?
You think so? Or see, if we are talking about who, is it who? Or what do you think?
Which?
Which? Yes. Or do you think that it's also where?
Where?
This is donde podemos tomar el sol, right? So normally we go to places or to shops where we can take the sun, right? Okay, and it is very common that we go on, well, aquí es days, sorry, on days. What do you,
Where?
When? When?
when, because in this case we're talking about days, right? O sea, días cuando el sol está afuera, right? And normally we go with people.
Which are very talkable.
If we talk about people, then we use who.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, sorry.
No, no worries. In Spanish, it's pretty common that we say yo soy una persona la cual. In Spanish, it's possible, but in English, we use soy una persona quien. So that's why we use better who instead of which, right? But in all of these examples, we are giving information about the object of the sentence. In this case, the subject is I, the object is places, and I am talking about the place. In this case, the subject is we, and the object is shops, and I'm talking about the places. In this case, again, it's we, the subject, and the object is days, and I am using when, because I am giving information not about the subject, but about the object of the sentence. Right? So far, so good. How do you feel there with that one?
Good, good. I believe that in general, it's a good thing.
Exactly. Very good. Listen, guys. So far, we have learned how to describe places introducing a lot of information. But when we introduce so much information, it's possible that we have to connect sometimes positive ideas with negative ideas. Sometimes something that is good from the place with something that is not so good from the place. For example, at the beginning of the class, you told me good aspects of your place, of your neighborhood, but then you told me a couple of negative ones. So in that case, guys, we're going to connect those ideas. Well, of course, I can connect it using the relative pronouns, so the relative clauses. But at the same time, if I want, I can do it using the connectors, right? In this case, we're going to have connectors of many different words: contrast, addition, result, reason, condition, purpose, right? Today, we're going to focus on the connectors of contrast, which are however, nevertheless, despite, in spite of, even though, and although. Ready? Now, how do we use them? We're going to have to divide it in three different groups: despite and in spite of, which is a pesar de; even though and although, which is sin embargo, yes, or also a pesar de; and however, nevertheless, or on the other hand, which is sin embargo. Right? So all of these are for contrast. It means that if one idea says up, the other one says down. If one idea says good, the other one says bad. If one idea says big, the other one says small. So they are talking about contrasting ideas, ideas that are opposite. Ready? And take into account that these connectors, especially the group number one and the group number two, they can be placed as connector, sentence number one, comma, sentence number two, or sentence number one, connector in the middle, and sentence number two, depending as you prefer, right? And you can use both options. In spite of and despite. Ready? Despite, it's more commonly located at the beginning, and in spite of, it's more commonly located at the end. But it's possible that you would like to change. Ready? The same here, yes. So you could locate although, yes, at the beginning, and even though in the middle, right? But it's optional. If you want to do it the other way, it's fine for you. Okay? Ready? No problem. So, my dear guys, in this case, we're going to have a big difference between despite and in spite of, and even though and although. After despite or in spite of, the sentence that is right after, it's a noun phrase. What is a noun phrase? A noun phrase, it's a sentence that doesn't have verb. It's only a noun. Es una frase nominal, o sea, es un sustantivo grande. Ready? En cambio, when we have even though or although, we're going to have a complete phrase, o sea, subject, verb, and complement. It's all complete. In this case, no, it's only noun phrase. That's it. Maybe it's a characteristic, or maybe it's an object, or maybe it's something, but it doesn't have verb. Okay? For example, I would say that I love my hood. Hood es una contracción de neighborhood, right? I love my hood, yes? And I would like to express that the negative aspect is the noise, for example. Yes? Entonces, I have one good thing that it's what I like, it's I love my hood, and something that I don't like, which is the negative characteristic, right? I'm going to contrast the two ideas. If I want to use only noise, it's a noun phrase. I would say, I love my hood in spite of the noise. And that's it. That is the noun phrase, no more. Amo mi barrio a pesar del ruido. That's it, right? But if I want to express a complete sentence, y decir es que allí hay mucho ruido, that one, it has the verb are. Oh, bueno, is in this case because it's not countable, right? So in that case, I would say that I love my neighborhood, although, me comí la G, sorry, although there is much noise. It's exactly the same idea, but in the first example, I just used the noun, noise. In the second example, I used complete. I said all complete, right? So I love my food, although there is a lot of noise, or even though there is a lot of noise, or I love my food despite the noise, or in spite of the noise, right? If I want to do it at the beginning, it's also possible. I could say, for example, even though my neighborhood has a lot of noise, or there is a lot of noise in my neighborhood, comma, I love it. Or, for example, despite the noise, comma, I love my neighborhood. Both options are fine. But the first one, with in spite of or despite, it's shorter. It doesn't have a verb. It's just the noun and no more. On the other case, it's all complete with subject, verb, and complement. With however, we're going to have something similar to this one because it's a complete idea, but in this case, both ideas, idea number one and idea number two, are about the same topic. Like in this case, are about the neighborhood. Yes, they are related. But when we have however, nevertheless, or on the other hand, we are going to have ideas which are completely separated. They are contrasting, but about different topics. For example, I love my food. I love my food. Usually, however, nevertheless, and on the other hand, are going to be placed after a period. That period is separating the first idea of the second idea, saying, hey, this idea it's totally different from the other one. They are not related. They are contrasting, but it's not the same idea. They are completely different ideas. And in that case, for example, I would say, I love my hood. Nevertheless, or however, or on the other hand, cualquiera is the same. Nevertheless, comma, or semicolon, yes. I would live in Medellin too. In Medellin too, right? So in that case, guys, I'm saying like, okay, I love my neighborhood. See, yes, good. But I would like to live in Medellin. It's a completely different idea. It has nothing to do with the first one. So that's why I have to separate it with period and a connector and then comma. Ready? Because it's contrast, but it's contrasting of two different topics. How do you feel with these connectors? More or less, kind of, difficult?
More or less, I already had listed them, but I didn't know that it has they have this grammatical
Rules.
structure.
Yes. Okay, guys. Well, it's a matter of practicing, right? So I would like you to think in positive aspects and negative aspects of your neighborhood and try to connect it, right? I'm going to show you an example. Well, we are going to finish with example. The activity is like as a homework. Here, yes. So, Mrs. Emily, help me please to read the first paragraph from here until here.
My neighborhood is a place where people can walk their dogs because it is a place which has three consecutive parks that make a very big park. There is enough space for people who share with pets, but also for those who share with families.
Perfect, very good. So in that case, I'm connecting all of these ideas with relative clauses, where, which, that, who, and who. Right? Thank you. All of that are positive aspects. Then, in the second paragraph, I introduce the negative aspects. Daniel, go ahead.
Nevertheless, there are other people who don't take care of the space where they are, and they affect it when they spend some time there.
Exactly, very good. So in that case, you said, okay, nevertheless, I know that what it comes is something negative because before I said all good things. So now if I say nevertheless, I'm going to say something bad, right? And I also connect the like inner ideas, the sub ideas with connectors of relative clauses, right? So when, where, when, depending on the information that I want to give, right? So depending if you want two ideas and they are related about the same topic, then you can use although, even though, despite, or in spite of, depending if it's a complete sentence or it's just a noun. And if they are two separated ideas, but they are contrasting, then you can use nevertheless, on the other hand, or however. Okay? Example, guys. First idea here, it's that I enjoy playing video games. I enjoy playing video games. Second idea, it's that I don't have time for it. What connector would you use here in the middle?
Nonetheless.
Nonetheless, bueno, nonetheless no lo vimos hoy, but it's more advanced. But do you think so? Because in this case, I don't have time for it. ¿Qué es it?
It's I don't remember the name well.
But it is an object pronoun. Pero ¿a qué hace referencia it, Dani? Ese it, ¿a qué hace referencia?
An object. It's made reference to an object conjoined noun.
Is referring to the action of playing video games, right? Entonces las dos ideas están conectadas, right? Aquí en la segunda idea hago mención a la primera, right? Entonces, in that case, what connector would you use here? Es una idea completa. ¿Cuál es mi?
Despite.
No, porque es una idea completa. Mira que acá tengo subject, verb y complement.
Even so.
Exacto.
O also.
Muy bien. Entonces, although. Right? Entonces, I enjoy playing video games, although I don't have time for it. Yes? Why? Because in that case, I have a complete sentence in the second part. Now, look at this part. Look at this connector. The same. I enjoy playing video games. Just but in the second idea, I said sorry. My short time. What connector will you use there?
In despite of.
Exactly. In spite of or despite, right? So, because in that case, I said the same, just that in that case, I have only a noun phrase. I don't have a verb. Yes? Notice that in that case, in this phrase, I don't have a verb. So, in spite of. Hasta me encanta jugar videojuegos a pesar de mi corto tiempo, right? In spite of my short time. And the last one, imagine this one. I have to work every day, 12 hours. Or let's say for 12 hours. What connector would you use there?
However.
Yeah, exactly. Why? Because in that case, the second idea is completely independent from the first one. This idea doesn't mention the first idea at all, like in the first. Yes, I use it because that it's making reference to the first idea. Yes, usually they are going to be between commas or between periods. But here, I am going to have a period after the first idea, then comma after however, and then I introduce the other idea. That it's contrasting to the first one, but it's completely independent. Because in that case, I don't mention this first idea at all. So they are contrasting, yes, but they are independent ideas, okay? So that's why how I can recognize what connector should I use, paying attention to the second idea. Okay, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Got it. Very good. So, guys, in this case, well, what you were supposed to do was learning how to describe a place, which is actually an easy task. Yes. You learn how to organize the adjectives. Great. And also, and most important, you learn how to connect ideas using relative pronouns and also using contrasting connectors, right? Of the three different types, in spite, despite of, although, even though, However, nevertheless, and on the other hand, okay? So what's the idea? The idea is that you can use all of that for describing places, people, things, objects, everything that you want to do it. Try to practice like constantly. Describe something that you have on your red bedroom, describe something that you see out of the window, describe many different things, and try to connect those ideas using connectors and also relative pronouns. Okay. Guys, thank you for being here. Sorry for the delay. I had a lot of issues with my PC, but that's it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for waiting for me. And see you the next week. We are going to have two classes, 3.1 and 3.2. So see you there and have a wonderful weekend. Okay.
Bye,
Bye, teacher.
teacher.
For the class.
Have a good
Bye.
week.